What's up, everybody? Welcome to Philly with John Marks on PHLY. As always, presented by Bet Parks and Central City Toyota. Chiefs 1.5 favorites in the Super Bowl against the Eagles. Wow. 49.5 is the over-under. Pretty, does it feel real yet to everybody? I know we've been, listen, it's kind of a normal thing for Eagles fans to be headed to the Super Bowl or to be getting ready to watch our team in the Super Bowl. Who's actually headed down to the game? And now, Tyler, can you fill in any of the blanks? Are we sending anybody down to the Super Bowl down in New Orleans? Do you have any idea?
We are. I know we are definitely sending people down. I can't tell you who it is yet because I don't know the answer to that question. My guess would be the PHLY Eagles show is going to be going in its entirety.
Right.
I mean, they should.
Right.
And I would imagine we're sending some photographers down. So that means our friend Chris is probably going. But other than that, I don't know.
I think Anthony's going to drive. Because you look at Ant's MO.
Drive to New Orleans? That's a
ride,
man.
Drove to Arizona last year.
Yeah, it's true.
Was it last year? Yeah. No, 2 years ago. He drove to Arizona 2 years ago with Casey Boy. Last year, they were down. Where was the Super Bowl last year? I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't recall.
They were there. They were there for the Super Bowl. So how far of a drive do you think New Orleans is if we left right now, which you wouldn't want to leave right now?
I would say it's a 15-hour drive.
I've driven to essentially an hour south of Jacksonville, and that was, I think, 15. The longest I've driven, and I drove by myself nonstop from Charlevoix, Michigan, which is all the way up, Upper Peninsula, like right on the lake, to Philly. Was 15.5 hours. And it wasn't too bad. All right, ready? I have the Waze app right now. I'm just going to put New Orleans in general. New Orleans. Because that's what I would do. I wouldn't want to drive down. It's 1,099 miles away. If you left right now, Tyler Zulli, and it's calculating the route, and it takes a long time because I'm not driving to Collegeville or the Brits in New Jersey. If you left right now, right this very moment, it would take you 17 hours and 48 minutes.
And that's assuming that you do not stop for the next 17 hours.
So it's taking you about 20, right? Because then, like, all of a sudden, you hit DC traffic or there's an accident or something or whatever. Yeah, so right now you're looking at about 18 hours. Only $8. Man, you drive to New York, it costs like $40 in tolls.
It's only $8 in tolls to get to New Orleans?
$8 in tolls.
That's the way to go.
And it looks like there's a way to go without tolls.
That's 72 hours.
You gotta get out 9 minutes.
Get out of your car and walk at one point.
Extra 9 minutes. I would love it. And by the way, like, we're not going down to New Orleans. I've absolutely zero interest to go down to New Orleans. I've been to Phoenix. That was awesome. I've been to Minnesota. That was awesome. And by the way, I didn't stick around for the games, which I know a lot of people are like, why would you stick around for the games? Like, well, we have a show to do the next day. And like, I wanted to be with my family. I wanted to be in the city when they played. But I would like to actually go to a Super Bowl, an Eagles Super Bowl, and see it in person. All right, so tickets to get in. What would you say, Tyler Zulli, what would you say the get-in price right now for the Super Bowl would be? And like, I would actually have to have some context to what it was before. I felt like it was more money for a ticket before, considering people were paying $2,000 for tickets to see the NFC Championship game. A pair of tickets right now, the cheapest price that I'm seeing on the Game Time app. Is this real? $4,491. Now that's before the.
Yeah, I was gonna say about $5,000. So with taxes and fees, it's $13,754
for a pair,
or for one
for a pair.
Okay,
yeah, because it has it listed at almost $5,000, but that's per ticket. Even though I have in the options that it should be for two. All right, yeah. So if you're looking at $5,000 a ticket, it's like another $5,000 in fees and taxes and everything else. All right, so you're looking at like $7,500 for one of the worst seats in the place. And this is section 631. You're in the upper left-hand corner of an end zone. All right. Here's what I know, man, from being at a couple Super Bowls, in particular the Minnesota one, that people don't care. Eagles fans will charge them. They'll take it out of their savings. They'll not pay their bills because of it. One of the coolest stories, and I wish I knew her name because I never talked to her after it, but it was at the Mall of America after a broadcast, and there were Eagles fans all over the place, and we were in like a bar restaurant that was in the mall. And this girl's, when I say girl, she's probably early 20s, mid 20s. Her dad had passed in the previous year. That since the start of the season. And his dying wish to his wife was send her to the Super Bowl and the Eagles go to the Super Bowl. So they did. And she was there after her dad died, who had season tickets. And she was at the Super Bowl kind of like crying, talking about it. And it's like, wow, this is like such a friggin' emotional thing for everybody in Philadelphia. And it really was. So you don't have that same kind of, this is the third time they've been here in 8 years. So you don't have that same kind of first time feeling, but still, headed down to New Orleans, 18 hours. I mean, it's not a great drive, but whatever. You have great memories. So my prediction is Anthony, Violations Greg, and Frazier hop in Anthony's 4x4 with some equipment in the back. And does Anthony carry suitcases or is he a duffel bag guy?
Well, I was going to ask you, what do you think they listened to on the ride down?
So I've traveled with Anthony before. When we used to get on spring training, when we were going to and from the park, I'm a big radio guy. So I'm searching around for sports radio. I love being in the middle of nowhere and look for sports radio, or just being anywhere and searching the AM dial looking for sports radio. So maybe they're looking for AM radio. I know I was in Florida one time and I'm like, hold on, is that Anthony? And it was Anthony's national Fox Sports radio show that he does on the weekends. And I'm like, it sounds like Anthony. I was like, it is Anthony. It's like Saturday, Sunday morning. I forget when he was on them. But anyway, yeah. So what would be on there? Maybe the chat can hit up with what they think that would be on the radio.
K-Red says dial. Rush for 18 straight hours.
No, Anthony's running that stereo, brother. There's no Rush.
No, Anthony's a huge Rush fan.
Is he?
Yeah.
But as you listen, see, like I don't know. I'm not a music guy in the car on a long trip like that. I'd be a music guy for like going to a concert or something. I don't know.
And see, I'm a full album guy when I hit the road. Like, because I want to be able to, for like 45 straight minutes, not have to worry about what I'm playing next.
I'm full album guy on the plane.
I put the full album on and just go.
I often do playlists, but I will do full album on the plane.
Okay. And
then you kind of like are 25% waking up and you can hear like whatever song it is and you fall back asleep. It's the way to go. All right. Well, this is very exciting. Brandon Graham may be back. He said on his WIP show last night, he's taking it one day at a time. I ain't heard nothing, man. BG said, I'm just excited to be here, excited for this team, excited for this moment. On how he's feeling, quote, I feel good. This has been the easiest injury, I'll say, out of the injuries I've had. Upper body stuff's a little bit easier. It's just making sure I'm building muscle. I'm getting stronger and doing the right things to where I'm not re-hurting it. We'll see what the docs say, see what's going on, and go from there. Well, I have no way to predict the future of what the doctor's going to say or to know if it's even feasible that he comes back. My bet is that he comes back and he gives you probably 20 snaps, 25 snaps. They put some type of harness on his arm where he has limited motion and flexibility. But you know what? If I'm looking at one thing that I'd be worried about going up against the Chiefs, in particular with Patrick Mahomes, is pass rush. We know he weasels around and he maneuvers around the pocket very, very well. And he does. But Brandon was so good this year. And Nolan Smith stepped up and he's been awesome. And Josh Sweat's been good. I mean, the pass rush hasn't been crap. But if you could get somebody that comes in that big spot, in that third down, when you need somebody flying around the corner, we just seen Brandon do it so much over the years. So I'm predicting he plays, and I'm predicting this is going to be awesome. Oh, my God. I would be so happy. Because, like, it broke my heart, knowing BG, it broke my heart when it was like, wow, this is like a special, special run and a special team. And this is how it's going to end for him. Hopefully he's able to play in this game. That would make me happy.
It's fun. I hate to be like Debbie Downer on this conversation, John, but I was having this conversation with somebody off the air yesterday. I think I was talking to VG after the show. And I said, my only thing is, if he's going to be available, you obviously have to make a roster move, right? You have to figure something out. Now, I would love to see Brandon Graham play in this game. But I have to be assured if he is going to play, there's some semblance of him being a part of the rotation. And it's not just Brandon Graham like dressing because it's like a feel-good story. You know what I mean? Like, because you need that, you may need that roster spot at some capacity. Like, that's my only concern. And I hate even like having that mindset in my head. But if he's going to dress, he's got to play. And I'm not asking him to play the way that he did prior to the injury, but I do have to ask him to play probably double-digit snaps at least, right?
I'm trying to think who he would. I'm trying to look at the snap counts right now. Like, who would he get snaps over? He would obviously cut into
probably Jalen Hunt snaps
in the
first
Hunt
and
snaps,
foremost.
but Hunt's also been good too. So I don't know. I mean, I agree with you. He can't just be out there and because he's Brandon Graham and not like he's got to be able to.
Correct.
He's got to be able to actually have an impact
bit
on the game. It doesn't mean that that's going to happen, but you have to look at it and be like, no, he's fine. He's going to play.
Well, and I think Brandon Graham as a team leader and as a veteran, he'll be honest with you. If he's capable of going, he'll tell you he's going to go. And I think, as much as we'd love to see him out there, I think he will say, I'm not ready. If he's not ready to play, I think he will say, don't take a roster spot if I'm only going to be a dressed cheerleader, basically. If I'm going to be a dressed fan on the sideline, I think he'd be honest about it.
I don't know how you don't tell yourself that you're going to be fine, but hopefully we won't have to worry about that. But this portion of the show is sponsored by Glatt Hair Restoration. GlattHairMCTR.com. 610-980-4000. You can see my hair, and I am wolfing. I need a haircut worse than anything, but it's a difficult week for me. I'm gonna have to wait till next week. Anyway. So I don't know if people have noticed, and if you're on social media, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't been on social media more in my life than I am right now. Just with this being a much different animal than filling 20 hours a week on the radio now with this hour, and then you're trying to create content, and I'm out there much more in the current situation what I'm doing right now, and all you're seeing right now from Eagles fans, it's like #never forget. This is the revenge tour for all Eagles fans on all the rats in the media right now. And listen, I at one point with Jalen Hurts, I was not a Hurts guy. I liked the intangibles. I called him Captain Intangible. I didn't think that he was going to be a good enough passer for him to be a Super Bowl champion or for him to be an elite NFL quarterback. And what he did in the first Super Bowl appearance 2 years ago, it's like, dude, I got to give it up. Got to give it up. I wasn't trying to play around. Well, who knows? Make him do it again next year. He was fantastic. He was unbelievable. He was the biggest reason why that team was in the Super Bowl, and he played great in the Super Bowl except for the turnover, right? Then he kind of regressed as a passer last year. They were 10-1. They started the season 10-1. So let's not act like he was crap, but we know things fell apart at the end of the year. Still very positive on Jalen Hurts. And then this year, right? If I wanted to make about Jalen Hurts, if I wanted to nitpick, if I wanted to be an anti-Hurts guy, which now you have to do if you're in the local or national media, then you're filling time every day, right? I understand the nature of the business and the beast, right? I elected not to do that. And if I was doing sports radio, guess what? I probably would have had to do it, but I don't have to. It's one of the reasons why I'm not doing it. So I could focus on the team and say, all right, he's not Peyton Manning. All this team does is win. And look at how they're winning. And how about this thought? Maybe he's actually dialing it back because it's what's best for the team. I think more than anything, that's what I believe now is all right, I know he's never going to be, you're never going to mistake him for being this elite, great passer, but everything else. And now he doesn't turn the ball over and he makes plays with his legs. And keep it simple. Great defense. Saquon Barkley, make big plays, get big drives. That's all this dude has done. So I've been very positive on Jalen Hurts. But then the idiots around the country, and we'll get to all of them right now. So what we've done is Tyler and I have kind of compiled some of our favorite hits from really when it all started when they signed Saquon Barkley with the idiots out there that have been on the Eagles hate wagon. All right? And let's start with Nick Wright. Now, believe me, I understand simple minds will likely have simple takes, right? And I may have been guilty of this too if I wasn't an Eagle fan or I wasn't a sharp football mind, all right? You sign a running back, you sign him for a lot of money. Who needs a running back? You draft one in the 5th round, and you're fine. Unless you have an awesome team, and Saquon makes your team that much better. Nick Wright, after the Eagles signed Saquon Barkley, this is on his podcast. Here's what he had to say.
This money on Saquon is such a misuse of resources. It's just so crazy. Philly fell apart last year because their defense was terrible. It was signing the most expensive running back on the market. It's just bad business. It is your friend who has a car that breaks down all the time because it needs a new transmission, and you see him and all of a sudden he has brand new rims on it. He's like, look at that! It's like, yeah, man, but it looks cool, but and those are nice, and Saquon's a good player, but that's not what was killing you last year.
Yeah, okay, so how do you explain it now? So, because the focus is always on the run, running back, you can't play running backs. Saquon Barkley got the same contract as freaking Gabe Davis did, essentially. Gabe Davis, the wide receiver, didn't do anything in Jacksonville. Look at the stiffs at wide receiver and other positions and the money they're paid year after year. And then look at what Saquon Barkley got. Essentially a 2-year contract where you'd have to eat a little bit of the 3rd year if he sucked or got hurt, which obviously hasn't happened. So, Nick Wright, congratulations. You lead us off. All right, so which also leads us to a lot of tweets out there, and we could have given you 1,000 of them. Tyler chose this freezing cold take, which is amazing. And I can't see what it says because it's small and I'm blind.
Yeah, the tweet says, and this comes... Freezing Cold Takes grabs a bunch. If you're unfamiliar with Freezing Cold Takes, they grab a bunch of tweets and videos and things like that didn't age well. Like, I have sent tweets of myself.
It's a cold take.
Cold take before,
take.
right? So they send this, and this is from a Twitter handle named Bobby Spence. Bobby says, I honestly believe when all is said and done, Saquon's biggest regret of his career will be signing with Philly.
But why would you think that? Forget about that Saquon ran for 2,000 yards and that looks stupid. But why would you think that? Why, seriously, why would you think that? You're going into an offense that has a great offensive line, that has elite talent, and a very well-run organization that's been to 2 Super Bowls in the course of 7 years, and now 8 years, 3. It's just so stupid. All right, Sean Marash. Oh, this guy, Sean Marash. I could do a whole show on him, and I'm not going to. Stone loser, this guy. Just a stone loser. And not just because of this, because everything else that he does. This guy hates the Eagles so much. Honestly, he works at WFAN, he works in the afternoons with Evan Roberts and Tiki Barber. He's the 3rd mic. And Spike actually hired him. Spike Eskin, my old boss, hired him. And I thought it was a decent idea. He's kind of outlandish, he's wild, he's crazy, right? But he also, everything that he puts out there right now is cringeworthy, and it's embarrassing. And I can't imagine the company's not embarrassed, and I can't imagine that his colleagues at WFAN don't look at him and laugh at him. And by the way, he pooped himself on the air.
I was waiting for you to say that one.
When he worked nationally, well, I can't really, if you're going to poop your pants, I can, what are you going to do? But he's that kind of a guy where he pooped his pants on the air. Here is after, remember, so Saquon drops the pass. Instead of running the ball and eating up the clock, and then if you don't get a first down, you kick the field goal, they went for it, and it was an incomplete pass. And it stopped the clock. The Falcons get the ball back, and they drive down, they score a touchdown, they win the game. Here's Sean Marash, New York Giant fan, Saquon Barkley hater after they lost that game. Here he is.
I tried to tell you, Eagle fans, you have that losing player, Saquon Barkley, with all his crap drops in crucial spots, and already in week 2, he's cost you a football game. Losing players lose games. Enjoy that. Enjoy Nick Sirianni's man titties. Enjoy it all, Philly. You guys suck. Saquon sucks. You lost to Kirk Cousins in prime time.
Sean Marash on his Instagram. By the way, the Eagles may lose in the Super Bowl, and this isn't none of this stuff's changed because just getting to the Super Bowl is a feat in itself, and then from there you have to win the Super Bowl. But when you're predicting, as Nick Wright tweets out, the Eagles are going to finish not at the top of the division, not 1, not 2, but Nick Wright predicted the Eagles would miss the playoffs and finish in Third place in the NFC East. There he is, Nick Wright, who, by the way, doesn't believe any of these things that he's saying or tweeting. This is simply an act. A lot of these guys, and we'll get to Chase Daniel after we talk about some stuff here, they don't believe any of it. He doesn't believe that. He's a Chiefs fan, so maybe he has hate for the Eagles, which I respect. By the way, I respect the hate for the Eagles. And that's fine. I wouldn't want the Eagles to win either if I was somebody else. All right, we're annoying.
Well, the only fan bases that I think would root for the Eagles should be AFC West fan bases. Like, there was a conversation in my buddy's group chat the other day, and they were talking. It was before the game, and they were talking about if the Eagles lose and Washington goes to the Super Bowl, would you root for Washington over Kansas City? And I said, absolutely not.
No.
I am not rooting for an NFC. This takes me back to the conversation that we had in 2007 and 2011, where it was like, 2007, man, don't want to see the Patriots go undefeated. I'm going to root for the Giants. I'm like, what? It's a division rival. I rooted for the Patriots twice in the Super Bowl.
I rooted for the Giants because I picked the Giants to win.
Okay, so
to your point, I would never root for Washington over Kansas City.
No, it was such a strange feel.
No.
Like, Raiders fans should be rooting for the Eagles. Broncos fans should be rooting for the Eagles.
There's a lot of people rooting against Kansas City and probably rooting for a tie where no one wins, which obviously you can't do. All right, we'll come back. We have a couple more of these. They're fun, so don't go anywhere. About 20 minutes from now or so, Nick Kostos, who, by the way, is a Giant fan, but he's actually like an intelligent Giant fan. He's one of the Giant fans that hates his organization and is probably rooting for the Eagles to win, even though he hates Eagles fans, just in spite of the Giants. You're seeing a lot of Cowboys fans doing that right now as well. So that's coming up. We're going to check in Dallas with the bit that is going on down with the Dallas Cowboys. So we're going to keep doing the Dallas Cowboy bit because it's a bit. The team is now become a radio or a TV bit. That's all coming up. Philly, John Marks. What are you doing? Don't go anywhere. What are you doing? What are you doing if your shoulder is bothering you, your knee, your ankle, your back, your joints, hands? Rothman has you covered. Rothman Orthopedics, specialized care. Been their passion for over 50 years. High quality, compassionate, and affordable care rooted in research, leading to new treatments and better outcomes. Each Rothman doctor is laser focused on their specialty. So, listen, you can go to a doctor and they can look at it and say, oh, well, here's what. Nope. We're talking about specialty doctors, hips, knees, spines, you name it. They have a team for each body part and right in your backyard, right there. So if you're a golfer, right, doesn't feel like it's golf season yet. It's right around the corner in spring. Maybe play tennis, maybe basketball. You're a runner. You like to be active. And when you're active, your knee bothers you, your elbow, your shoulder, whatever it is, as you get older, right, these things happen. You don't have to live with it. If you're a 5 out of 10 on the pain scale, 6, 7 out of 10, after you work out, after you garden, after you do something, you don't have to live with that. I had a frozen shoulder. For a year, I just said, it'll go away. It didn't. Went to Rothman. One visit, physical therapy for 6 weeks. I haven't had a problem with the shoulder since. My flexibility is even a little bit better since then. RothmanOrtho.com/PHLY. 225 new patients and consults. 255,000, excuse me. Rothman consistently performing among the highest volume of hip, knee, shoulder, and ankle replacements in the country, right here in the area. You're talking about the best in the country. RothmanOrtho.com/PHLY to learn more and to make an appointment today. How about that? All right, let's listen. You can't talk about the big game without talking about BetParx and BetParx app, right? So, Philadelphia, 1.5 underdogs in the big game, 49.5. We'll start going over a lot of the prop bets and a lot of the parlays and all that coming up here. We got a long time. It's gonna be a long week and a half here before we actually get to the game. But BetParx app, it's the only app I would ever use. It's the only online sportsbook that I would ever use. And right now, man, BetParx has you covered with amazing stuff right now. Hot online slots, double down on fourth down, or play with a live dealer right now on your phone. Download the app. Enjoy all the action and excitement from the casino at your fingertips. New users who download the app get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Your casino bonus must be wagered. BetParks.com for details. You must be 21 and in PA, New Jersey, or Maryland for the BetParks app. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. There you go. All right, we're back. So I just we'll get back to some of the Eagles hate. Hashtag never forget. So did you see Aaron Glenn was had his press conference yesterday being introduced, the new Jets head coach? Well, he was. He was up. He was introduced yesterday. I thought he did a really good job. He's a no-nonsense kind of guy. They obviously have to have talent, but I think he's doing a good job. How about our own Glenn Foley made the ride up as part of the alumni?
Oh, how about that?
Texted me last week and said, yeah, I'm going up for he was his teammate.
Did he play with Aaron Glenn?
Yeah, he sure did. So, Glenn's got nothing else going on probably on a Monday. Yeah, so he drove up. Yeah, he just sent me a picture. Yeah, who else is in this picture right here? A couple of his old teammates. Yeah, so pretty cool. G Foles up there yesterday.
Yeah, I give Aaron Glenn a lot of credit. Like, that unit lost so many guys to injury this year. And now I know they got beat pretty bad in the divisional round. And that was just the product of, like, A, your team had 5 turnovers, and B, I think at that point they were just out of gas. But, like, you lose Hutchinson, you lose Anzalone, you lose McNeil for a while. They just kept going for a little bit. Now, I know towards the end there were cracks in the foundation, but he's proven to be a pretty good defensive mind.
Bubble gum and duct tape.
Right. And like you said, the word on him is kind of a no-nonsense guy, kind of strict but fair type of guy. I think he's going to be a good coach.
Listen, I firmly believe this, and I think you're moving more away from, even though you still see it, like the Liam Cohen Duval guy yesterday. But you can get these offensive geniuses. It's about building a culture, in particular in a place like the Jets, which is just like it's terrible ownership and everything else. Look at what Dan Campbell did. Dan Campbell's not an X and O offensive head coach, but those guys freaking play for him. Nick Sirianni. I think Sean McVay, one of the reasons why he's the best head coach in the NFL is he's a perfect combination of, obviously, an incredible offensive mind. Look at his coaching tree. Like, everybody that works with him gets head coaching jobs. But also, like, he was crying after the game, after the loss to the Eagles in the locker room. And his guys are like, wow, like, this guy's unbelievable. His players love him. He's not just some weasel offensive play caller that these guys are like, man, get this guy out of here. They love him. They love him. But I think Aaron Glenn's going to do a great job with that. I do. So I'm rooting for him. He's good. All right, well, let's get back to the Eagle hate. Tyler Zerly, because it's out there, man. We could do a whole show on the Eagles hate. So we just did the Nick Wright tweet. So picking something that Chase Daniel has said, and he's on the Fox Sports, the FS1 show, picking something that he says is difficult because he has been giving the unfortunate position of having to play the anti-Jalen faction on his show. I don't really think he believes it. He may not think a lot of him as a passer. Maybe some of it is that he doesn't think he's a great passer. But once you decide that this has to be your position, then that really becomes your position. You're playing lawyer. It doesn't matter what you really believe. I don't even know if Chase Daniel even knows what he's saying anymore. You think Stephen A. Smith really cares about everything that they talk about, or he's just paid to argue? It's the nature of the stupid shows that they put out there. But Chase Daniels is such an idiot. What he said yesterday, honestly, it's so cringeworthy. We can't even play it. It's just so freaking bad. It's like, bro, you've been anti-Jalen Hurts. Don't backtrack and say that you're trying to be like, no, I never said anything bad about it being a winner. Shut up. So this is in December. So it was after the game, which I think was on December 8th. Was this the Carolina game? Just
yes,
after the Carolina game?
Correct.
Where the passing offense looked terrible and Jalen Hurts looked terrible. So this is Nick Picone, our buddy on Twitter. He put this out there. So just listen to the idiot that Chase Daniel is. Listen to this.
Don't you think it would just be a lot easier and all this attention would go away if the quarterback, Jalen Hurts, would just go up to the press today and be like, look, I have not played like I should play. I'm accountable for it. I got to do a better job. End of story.
Yes.
Like it's such easy words to say, yet we have not heard him say anything like that.
Carolina doing right and Where did that game kind of go in your opinion? Yeah, I think they did a good job. I think we did a bad job. That starts with me, how I execute and
it's such easy words to say, yet we have not heard him say anything like that.
There it is. So yeah, you're right. If he would just, all he needs to do it's a layup. Chase Daniels just said it's a layup. Just come out and say it. Say that you need to do better. He did say that, idiot. Oh my God. I'm just telling you, this new line of takers, Emmanuel Ocho, he doesn't believe anything he says. Chase Daniel, he doesn't believe anything he says. Shady needs to be Mr. Eagle. So he gets to come in. Now he's going to talk smack or whatever. So here's a Saquon under bet. And this is from some Twitter account out there. Tyler saw this one somewhere. He dug this up. And I can't even these guys are just taking direction from producers at FS1 saying listen, you can make a lot of money. You just got to get good at these take shows. And so that's what they're doing. I understand it. But you're not going to like it after a while. Trust me. You can put it back up, Tyler. I'm sorry. So what's the bet? So it's a Twitter account that's giving out picks.
Yeah, I assume it's a betting account. I just saw this and screen grabbed it. It was on Freezing Takes again. They said the easiest play today in the Commanders versus Eagles game, Saquon under 25.5 as his long rush. Well, that ended about, 6 seconds into the Eagles' first drive.
Well, this is an idiot because if anything, you say, because I think the over-under was 125 for his rushing yards.
It was a ridiculously high
crazy.
number.
But doesn't he normally get big runs? I mean, he would have to be bottled up to not have over a 25-yard run. It's insane. All right, so listen, Tyler, we both agree that accountability is important, right? And why Chase Daniel wants Jalen Hurts to be accountable for stuff. We have to be accountable. All right. So was this after the Atlanta game?
The Falcons game. We talked about it Tuesday morning.
All right, so you heard Sean Marash after the Falcons game. Here's what we sounded after the Falcons game.
I am so angry at Howie Roseman right now. And if I'm playing the blame game, he's not number one on the list. But the fact that this defense sucks, I almost put D-line / Howie Roseman. This is his defensive line. Bryce Huff's making $17 million a year. These 3 first-round draft pick defensive linemen are having no impact at all. No impact.
Man, that's a bad take on us.
Bryce Huff was your replacement for Hassan Reddick. Mm-hmm. He's going to be primarily your best pass rusher. And it hasn't worked through 2 weeks. Not only hasn't it worked, they've given you 0 on the defensive line. I'm so aggravated at Howie Roseman in this defense right now.
Yeah, understood. I think mine extends a little bit in a similar vein. It's Vic Fangio for me. Now, listen, Vic Fangio's not out there, in the trenches trying to get a pass rush. Fangio brought no pressure yesterday at all. I keep coming back to it, and I understand I sound like a broken record at 8:33 in the morning, but it frustrated me endlessly last night that this team was not able to get home to put some kind of pressure in Kirk Cousins' face. He was standing still throwing passes, and he was connecting with guys because he was having time to get rid of the football.
Right.
So to me, it's Fangio's play calling. It's an extension. So it's a combination of Fangio's play calling and the front four not getting home almost at all.
Yep. And by the way, we were correct. While we were holding ourselves accountable, we just, I guess, didn't have enough patience. The defense played off of everybody on that last drive. They gave so much cushion the entire game. And they chewed him up. And, Howie's lucky that things turned around. That Bryce Huff signing has a possibility of being an all-time bad signing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bad signing, and it feels a lot better now that we knew that Brandon Graham had a really good year prior to the injury, and Jalix Hunt has stepped up, and Nolan Smith has become the player that we hoped that he was going to become. This has been an excellent year. In fact, to the point, I think he has the most sacks in Eagles postseason history this season, this postseason. I think he's got 4.5 sacks now.
He's got 4. Hit 2-1-1.
Already broken the franchise record. We were angry at the time because it was a lax defense and they let a concrete Kirk Cousins go down the field. And remember, Kirk Cousins couldn't move at all this year, but he really couldn't move in the first couple of weeks. And then they have the Bucs game where they just get crushed a couple weeks later. And then it's just incredible defensive performance after incredible defensive performance after incredible defensive performance. Like
Cooper DeJean came in and they got Avonte Maddox off the field.
Well, between DeJean
Nolan
playing,
Smith, the
DeJean
D-line.
starting, and Nolan Smith,
Yep.
and Quinyon Mitchell being not just as advertised, but probably better than advertised, and Zach Baum becoming the player that he became, and maybe being a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Like this team, this defense specifically, made us eat those words because not only did they improve, they ended up becoming the #1 defense in the NFL. Like, we were angry at the time.
That's crazy, dude.
How good they became was unfathomable. So, like, we believe in accountability. We've been calling these shows out. We had to do it. We had to put ourselves on blast. But I never in my wildest dreams expected them to become as good as they've become.
It's crazy. All right, because we have Kostos coming up. I want to get to this. Let's do the Dallas Cowboys bit. And we'll keep adding to it whenever because the Cowboys are a bit right now. So can we start with Jerry Jones? So they had a big press conference yesterday, introducing Brian Schottenheimer, the new head coach. After the press conference, we'll play some of that in a second. After the press conference, Jerry Jones was asked the reaction of Cowboys fans and how it made him feel. Because this is obviously not a popular decision, and Cowboys fans are very unhappy with the organization right now. Here's Jerry Jones.
There's a very low percentage of this that is smiles and glory holes.
Smiles and what?
Glory holes. I need me some glory holes. So he's not talking about that glory hole, and he probably has no idea, or maybe he does, but I don't think he does. Glory hole from an oil tycoon is when you strike oil. That's a glory hole. He's not talking about a glory hole that you're watching on a site online.
Wow. All right.
All right. So Stephen Jones, who also goes on their radio station 105.3 The Fan for a weekly spot. He's like they gave him some title. He's co-owner and whatever. So they introduced Brian Schottenheimer, the new coach. You'll hear it, and there's a hearty round of applause. And then they announced Stephen Jones. Take a listen.
Dallas Cowboys head coach Brian Schottenheimer. And Chief Operating Officer, Executive Vice President of Player Personnel, and co-owner Stephen Jones.
And then I think Schottenheimer started going, "Oh yeah, come on, I'll clap for you." So, like, I never actually thought what do people think of Stephen Jones, and then you realize, like, he's Jerry's son who has no say over anything, and has this shiny title, and is always out there talking, and meanwhile his old man's running everything. There you go. Oh man, we got to get Cowboy media on here so they can say how they're rooting for the Eagles to win. Nick Kostos is going to join us. He's a lifelong Giant fan, but he's also objective, and I think he hates Eagles fans more than he hates the Eagles, because he tweeted out after the Eagles won the NFC Championship that Howie Roseman's the best GM in sports. And despite the Bryce Huff signing, which was obviously bad, look at everything else that he's done. This organization is unbelievable.
I hope our counterparts at DLLS spend the next 2 weeks saying how much they're going to hate watch this Super Bowl, because I know that they hate the Chiefs. I think everybody at this point pretty much is out on the Chiefs three-peat, but like they should have a disdain for, like, that's a show that should be rooting for Kansas City to three-peat.
Yep, Jeff Kavanaugh, who we had on before, who is their DLLS Eagles guy, longtime radio, right, everything else down there. He's awesome. You can just tell by his tweets. It's like, yeah, we're effed. The Eagles are a great organization. They know exactly what they're doing. They spend money. They spend a lot of money. Jerry's cheap. He keeps blaming the salary cap. We're like, the Cowboys are never winning anything. It's not even apathy anymore. It's like the resentment is starting to get there.
It's disdain at this point.
Oh my God, man. And you're so physically exhausted, and like the fatigue. I can't even imagine. You know what the funny thing is too? Like, I have Sixers fatigue. I think a lot of Sixers fans have Sixers fatigue. But the one thing I will say about the Sixers is
Nothing's worked, clearly, but they've tried some different things. They've brought James Harden in.
I'm not going to blame ownership for it. I'm not going to blame ownership for
listen, I'm not going to say that it's worked. It hasn't. It's been probably an abject failure to this point. But at least they've made some attempts at winning. Like, being a Cowboys fan, I would just it would be, like you said, it's not even apathy anymore. It's past
It's a bit. The team's a bit. Legitimately, it's a bit. Kostos, Nick Kostos, you better you bet, coming up in 5 minutes. Philly. John Marks. Yeah. Glad Hair Restoration. Headed up there on Thursday. Going to see my girl Cheryl from the hair team. Just important that I check in. Are the phones ringing? People calling? What are they asking? What are some new things that you guys are doing? Because the technology is, I've never seen it from year to year to where there's new techniques, there's new things that are coming out, there's new science that's coming out. So if you're in a position where you're thinning and you're balding and you're like, I want to try something, but I don't buy what I'm seeing online. Like, you get in the Instagram algorithm of, you got the guy with the biggest head of hair ever, and he's spraying like, look at my great head of hair. That's because you have great hair, not because you're spraying it on your hair, right? Glad Hair Restoration isn't that kind of crap, all right? It's not. We're talking about a hair team with over 30 years of industry experience that also, like, is with the times, is with modern science, right? So if you want hair restoration like me, where you've lost enough hair, you're like, you know what? I'm thinking restoration. If you're just thinning, maybe your wife or your mom, or maybe you're a female that's listening or watching, and you're like, well, is there something for me? You're damn right there is. And vitamin supplementation, non-invasive treatments. There's so much that's out there right now that can help you with your hair loss. And that's why you contact them. Glatt Hair Restoration. 610-980-4000. 610-980-4000, or the website, glatthairmctr.com. That's glatthairmctr.com. Tyler?
And let me tell you about our friends over at Shady Rays, because, listen, it's snow season. It's time to get out on the slopes. You want to hit the slopes for a little bit of skiing, a little bit of snowboarding, whatever it might be. Shady Rays has you covered with the best goggles and eyewear and eye protection in the industry. I've been telling you about my sunglasses for a while, but if you're hitting the slopes and you're out in the snow and the sun's reflecting off the snow, you need those premier snow goggles. So I can't recommend Shady Rays enough. But one of the reasons that I recommend Shady Rays more than anything is the fact that you're going to find a style that works best for you. Listen, I like the more of the sleeker, baseball feel look sunglasses. But if you're looking for aviators, or just looking for a pair of, take to the beach sunglasses, whatever it might be, Shady Rays has the options and the color scheme that's going to work best for you. You're going to find a pair that works in every style and every color that you're going to feel like you look like $1 million in. And the best part about Shady Rays is, if you don't love the pair that you buy, you have up to 30 days to return your pair risk-free or exchange them. No worries, no questions asked at shadyrays.com. And if you break or lose your pair, they have the best protection in all of eyewear. So head on over to shadyrays.com, use the promo code PHLY for 35% off a pair of polarized sunglasses, and see for yourself why 300,000 people have rated Shady Rays 5 stars.
Thank you, Tyler. I want me some glory hole, as Jerry Jones once said. Like Tyler, I've been tracking the glory hole, the Jerry Jones glory hole statements for many years. He's been saying it for many years. And the first time he said it, I'm like, well, you got to be kidding me with this guy. And then someone advised me why the glory hole is the oil when you strike oil. Nick Kostos from You Better You Bet is going to join us coming up here in 1 second. Give me the thumbs up when he's connected there, Tyler Zulli. As we have and so Kostos is two angles here. He is the host of You Better You Bet. So it's a betting show. It's on the Odyssey app. It's available wherever you find your podcasts. I think it's on one of the fast channels on Xfinity as well. They signed that with him every weekday from 3 to 7. So he's got the betting angles covered, but really he's unbelievable on sports, and he's a Giant fan. So when you get NFC East, I feel like I can talk as strongly about the Cowboys and the Giants, and maybe not the Commanders as much, but now starting with the Commanders as almost as the Eagles, right? Like we are so close to the situation, and having the Giants win the Super Bowls, forget about the Bill Parcells Super Bowls, but also the Eli Manning Super Bowls, and the Cowboys not winning anything, right? There definitely is this closeness between the fan bases and the media and everything else. So I'm always curious what the other markets think about the Eagles, what the other close markets think about the Eagles. And Nick has been great. He needs me to email him a link while I'm live on the air. There, hold on a second. So I have to do right now. Awesome. But I mean, it said this to start the show yesterday. It's just, it's weird having this great organization. The first thing I remember is being an Eagle fan is that the owner wanted to sell the team. He was literally going to move the team to Phoenix. And then when they finally no, they're not going to move the team, then it was like, okay, well, we're not going to move the team. We're going to sell you to Norman Brayman. Norman Brayman was a car salesman. And when free agency started in the NFL, all the great players that they have, and I just sent him the link, so hopefully he connects here in a second. All the great players that they had, they just essentially said, you can go. So like Keith Jackson was one of the first to go. Reggie White left. Seth Joyner left. Like the Eagles were a painful organization to have to deal with. They fired Buddy Ryan. All right, Buddy was probably an idiot. But like Rich Kotite comes in, total stooge. Then Andy Reid comes in 1999, and it's like, wow, like Andy Reid. This is awesome. Like, all right, like look at the team, Donovan McNabb, but then they still don't have enough to get over the hump. And they go to the NFC Championship games. They finally get to a Super Bowl. And then they can't get out. They can't win a Super Bowl. And then it's over. And then Andy Reid leaves, and you're like, oh, my God. But now they win. They go back, and they go back. Can they win it this year? Joining us right now is Nick Kostos. He's in the locker room. And he is the segment sponsored by Valley Forge Tourism. Weekend winter getaways, family-friendly affordability awaiting Valley Forge in Montco, PA. Valley Forge in Montgomery County have so much to offer, like must-see historical sites, tons of family attractions, a vibrant art scene, outdoor activities, shopping, and more, just 18 miles from downtown Philly. Take your kids, take your wife, take your girlfriend. It's an interesting and fun day out. ValleyForge.org can help you discover hidden gems, endless activities, and tons of places to stay in Montco. Get started planning that next getaway today, ValleyForge.org. Make it family time and make it Montco. The host of You Bet, You Bet, weekdays from 3 to 7. It's available on the Odyssey app, wherever you find your podcast. And Nick Kostos, you're on the Xfinity now, right? You're on the Fast Channels, your show. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, what's going on? Good to be on with you, buddy. Yeah, you can watch the show now on Peacock, on NBC Sports Now, every day from 6 to 7, and it archives after the fact. And basically any Fast Channel that carries NBC. There are a lot of them. I have to do a read that's almost as long as the one that you had to do for me. And I have to name 19 different streaming channels. I don't like Roku, Pluto, like a lot of them. It's
we're
really
on Roku.
Cool. Yes.
We're on Samsung Plus. We're in Xfinity. We're living in the same world. How are you? How you doing, buddy? I haven't talked to you.
Everything's good, man. I wish I had bet the Eagles on Championship Sunday. That was a big miss by me. I liked the Commanders. And I admitted on my show yesterday to all the angry Philly fans that I do have, not ED, not yet at least, I'm only 41, EDS though. I've had Eagles derangement syndrome. I bet against them all 3 games in the NFC playoffs. I did cover with the Rams, but pretty stupid for me to not be as high on Philly as I should have. And now obviously we'll play for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but I think in hindsight you can say that. But like after watching the game, you can be like, all right, why didn't I see that coming? I think most Eagles fans thought it was going to be a close game. With what you saw from Washington. Listen, they fell apart with the turnovers, man. The Eagles capitalized. I'm not going to tell you it wasn't as one-sided as a lot of people are saying with the refs. Eagles got the benefit of the calls. They were the home team. They're the team that's been there. They should get the calls over Washington, right? So there were some contributing factors. The Eagles are the better team. I mean, they're the better team. I think everybody knows that now.
Though the way I'll put it is this, because I bet Washington money line, Washington to win the game, and I'll admit, I was tilting pretty hard in the third, when McNichols fumbles at 20-12, and then Eckler puts the ball on the ground in the third quarter, I'm very upset. I'm bitching. I'm moaning. I'm whining. I'm complaining. I can't believe this is going to happen. I think Washington can win this game if they can just hold on to the ball. I think Daniels is going to score. And then the Eagles just wipe them off the face of the earth in the fourth quarter. And honestly, like, left no doubt. And I said on You Better You Bet yesterday, I'm actually happy that that's how it went down. So I could leave the game saying, okay, Philly was definitely the right side and deserved to win and deserved to cover the spread. Because how can you, at 55-23, how can you argue against that? So, look, like, there were ways where the game plays out and it's closer. I think the Eagles probably win that game 49 out of 50 times. So, a pretty authentic deserved win by the Eagles. And I'm being honest about that.
All right, so, and I know you're fair and objective because I had you on for many years on WIP. And when you're talking about betting, you try to take your Giant fandom or your Yankee fandom out of things because you're trying to win money, right? As an observer of the NFC East and as a fan of the Giants with Saquon Barkley leaving and just kind of the shape the organization's in right now, like, how are you not rooting as much against the Eagles because you're like mad because the Giants organization is bad? Like, here's what I'm seeing with Cowboys media and fans right now. They're like, that's what we want to be. We want to be that organization. Jerry, you're cheap. You can spend money if you want to. You're blaming the salary cap. You're a loser. One of the hosts down on their 105.3 The Fan called the Cowboys a bit. They've turned into a bit. They really have. So, and it's fun to watch. Like, are you rooting less hard against the Eagles now because kind of how things have played out?
I would say that, just as my life and career have gone on, and like, I'll give like a, kind of a roundabout answer here. I worked for NFL radio for a decade prior, like off air as a producer. And I don't know how many of the guys are still there. I know Bob Lang went to San Francisco, one of the PR guys. Derek Boyko, I don't know if he's still there. It's been a while for me.
Derek's in Buffalo. Bob Lang came back in like 2019. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just say, like, from my job perspective, the Giants never helped with anything, and the Eagles had like the best PR staff in the league. So just over the course, and like, I grew up as insane a Giants fan as you could. I hated the Eagles, in the same way that like Eagles fans hate the Giants, whatever.
Right.
But as like your life and career goes on, like you meet former Eagles in the media, like you did the show with Ike. Ike's a great dude. Like so many like great people. That stuff starts to get blunted a little bit, right? And then just this year, I am a Giants fan. I've rooted for Saquon all year, and I wanted him to embarrass the Giants because the Giants are a poorly run organization, and I think they deserve to be embarrassed. And embarrassment, I think, could be the way to getting the Giants to actually do things properly. So I've been rooting Saquon on all season. I think the Giants were right to let him go. They never won anything with him. So it's like, okay, like now they can lose without him also. But it doesn't mean he's not a great player or not a great fit in Philadelphia. And John, just the thing that I'll say, and I'm not pandering to your audience when I say this. I said it on my show. It's just the truth, right? Objectively. And there are a lot of great candidates. There really are. Including the GM that the Chiefs will play and the Eagles will play in the Super Bowl, Brett Veach with Kansas City. Howie Roseman's the best GM in sports, in professional sports. And if he's not the best, he's one of the best. The roster is an embarrassment of riches. It's ridiculous. 1 through 53. And the ability to just go into a draft and just pluck like immediate star players. Not many teams do this. And I got people, what about Justin Jefferson? Like everybody misses. Look at this roster and how sick it is. And take it a step further. Just the Giants corollary, right? Where by all accounts, like John Mara is a good man. Like he's not a bad guy, right? Probably like a good father, whatever. He's a terrible owner. He hasn't been able to get out of his way since his dad died, and he's had to make all the decisions. Compare and contrast with Jeffrey Lurie and what the Eagles have done, just like in this century. They've been awesome basically the entire time, like a couple bad years here and there, but for the most part, they've been really good. And like I don't think Sirianni should really be criticized anymore. You make the Super Bowl twice in 3 years. Like he's weird. Like he shaves his head like Britney Spears during the bye week. He's nuts, but you can't argue with results. So yeah, I think if people can be objective and honest and put the fandom aside, the fanaticism, I don't know how you don't look at the Eagles and say, yeah, I want my team to be like this. And I'm not kissing ass when I say that. It's the truth. Like it's just the truth.
A lot has been made of Jalen Hurts and his play and his lack of the passing game, the lack of, I guess you could say, Jalen Hurts. And I think where a lot of people just got to get to the point, Nick, where it's like it's effective. He's not turning the ball over. Could he throw?
You're in the Super Bowl again.
You're in the Super Bowl again. Second time in 3 years.
Pretty good.
Is Jalen? See, here's where I am right now, and I've been positive on Jalen all year long. He doesn't care about throwing the ball 40 or 50 times a game. Could he do it? I don't think he's a top 10 passer in this league ever, but he could throw more and pass for more yards, which would satisfy some of the idiot debaters out there, but it wouldn't make them a better football team. Right now, the best way for this team to win is their young defense, Saquon Barkley, offensive line, and then Jalen Hurts is going to make plays on third downs with his legs and if they need to drive in the fourth quarter. So, how good of a quarterback is Jalen Hurts? He's in the Super Bowl for the second time in 3 years. That's how good of a quarterback Jalen Hurts is.
Yeah, listen, I agree. And I feel like, sincerely, I'm a bigger Jalen Hurts fan than many. In the media, just period. I feel like I defend him constantly. Now, we can tell the truth, right? We can be honest and objective. Is he as good as Mahomes? No. Is he as good as Josh Allen? No. Is he as good at his height as Lamar? Even though I bet the Eagles against the Ravens when they played, is he as good? I'll tell you what, I trust Jalen Hurts more in the big spot than I do Lamar Jackson. I might even trust him more in the big spot than I do Josh Allen. So he probably stopped short of being in the elite tier. But here's something else that's true, right? And I think that we need to all think about this as we head into Super Bowl 59 in 12 days. The best game, and there's really something to be said for this, the best game of Jalen Hurts' career was the biggest game of his career, Super Bowl 57 a couple years ago, where he literally, not figuratively, literally, stood toe-to-toe with Mahomes, play for play with Mahomes. Oh, well, he put the ball on the ground and fumble 6. He was magnificent in the game. He's not the reason the Eagles lost. I hate that argument so much. And they'd be, oh, well, he fumbled the ball. Oh, okay. He didn't have an A+ 100 percentile game. Tell the truth. He was great in that game. And what happens if he does that again? And here's what I would say. Why would you think he's not going to play well in this game? Why would you think that if you're an Eagles fan? Now, that doesn't mean they're going to win. He played an A+ game and they lost the last time. I think they're going to lose again. I'm not being a hater. I think Kansas City is going to win. But yeah, I think Hurts has done more than enough at this point. And John, I think it's fair coming off of last year, right? 10-1, collapse down the stretch. The column from ESPN from Tim McManus and Jeremy Fowler comes out in early August, highlighting the rift between Sirianni and Hurts. I feel like it was appropriate to have questions about this coach-quarterback pairing after the way last year ended. I feel like, can we curse on this show or no?
No.
Okay, that bleep's been put to bed now. No more, guys. No more.
Right. No, the end of that, the McManus Fowler piece actually said there was a Eagles source that said, I don't think they're going to go out to dinner or anything like that, but they can have a good working relationship. Right.
Great. Who cares about that stuff? Great. Yeah, I just, you know how many people I work with I dislike, and who cares? They dislike me too.
But in the NFL, how often does it work out where guys put their differences aside and actually get back to getting along? And that's what happened. And that's credit to Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni worked hard, man. I'm with you. And with Nick Sirianni, the mean mugging and his behavior sometimes, he comes off as more of a frat brother than
how do you argue with results, though, is what I would say. How do you argue with the results? That's the thing. You can't.
It's working, man. It's working. And by the way, everybody that's watching on TV right now, I'm going to spend 2 more minutes with Nick here. Slide all over to allphly.com if you want to see the rest of the program. Allphly.com. See the rest of the program. All right, so you had mentioned you're picking the Chiefs. So it's a 1.5. Chiefs are 1.5 favorites. Evaluating the line and looking at it. I mean, I think everybody's looking at a close game because that's how the Chiefs play. Their defense is so good. Spagnuolo's done such a great job with that defense, man. They drafted well. You mentioned Brett Veach earlier. And Mahomes, and dude, I said it going into the Buffalo Bills game. Tyler, my producer, we both said the same thing. Mahomes is going to find a way to win the game in the fourth quarter with a drive, with a field goal, and that's going to be that. And that's all that they do. But how do you view this game? How do you look at it? As, we're still 12 days out.
Yeah, I said in August, I was wrong about plenty of stuff, right? So it's not really to pat myself on the back. I thought the Eagles, I think Philly could go 13-4 this year. I also think they could go 4-13, disaster potential if it comes apart at the seams like it did at the end of last year with Sirianni and Hurts. So I say that like I was wrong about a lot. That's a pretty dumb comment in retrospect, right, about Philly. But to this point, I've been right about the Chiefs. And look, they weren't like the favorite, so it's not the greatest take of all time, but I was really confident they were going to three-peat. Been betting it throughout the season, been consistent on that. I think they're the best team. I think Mahomes is the best quarterback. I think Reid's the best coach. And when it's all said and done in 12 days, I think we're going to have to say, whether people like it or not, that this is the best team in the history of the NFL. Not specifically the 2024 Chiefs, but you think about the long and storied history of this league, of which like I am a historian and like a lifelong fan. Like I love it. I love it. The Packers, who technically three-peated because they won the last NFL championship before Super Bowl I, but in the Super Bowl era, the 60s Packers, the 70s Steelers, the 80s Niners, the 90s Cowboys, all the great Brady Belichick Patriots teams never won 3 in a row. And the Chiefs are literally favored to do it. Like they are the betting favorite to win the Super Bowl and would become the first team in history to three-peat. I think they're going to do it. And I said, and I think you know that I'm not a hater, right? Right. I said prior to Championship Sunday, Eagles fans will not like this. I'm sorry, guys. That if I could have one matchup of all the cross match, like with the 4 teams, the one game that I would feel best about betting would be the Chiefs against the Eagles, because the point spread's going to be like a pick 'em, and I'm going to bet Kansas City. Right. Like Buffalo, Philly, I'm not really sure what would happen there. I think I probably would have bet Philly because they'd run for 200 yards. Right. Washington, if Washington beats Philly, then you've got Jayden Daniels, and it's kind of like this new variable. What do you do here? I think we know what the Eagles are. We know what the Chiefs are. I think the Chiefs' best is going to be a little better than the Eagles' best. So I'm going to take the Chiefs, and I feel very confident about it coming into Super Bowl 59.
All right, there he is. Nick Kostos, not a hater. Fair and objective. And by the way, I would love to see the 49ers, the Steve Young 49ers teams. I mean, because you get the Montana team, and then the 94, I guess the 94 Steve Young team. Those Cowboys teams as well. Those 49ers teams with Steve Young, I would love to see against Kansas City. I would love. That's the game I would like to see among all-time greats.
The Niners would. There's that great. I think it's CBS at the time had the NFC, and they had to do like the Summerall, but all these things are legendary. The Summerall cold opens for these huge games, right? And I think it's probably 94. So like the Cowboys beat them in 92 and 93, and then the Niners finally get them in 90, race out to a 21-0 lead, and then hold on to win the game. And Summerall's line in the open is, the Pro Bowl will be played in 2 weeks. The Pro Bowl will be played next week. The Super Bowl will be played in 2 weeks. Both are being played today between San Francisco and Dallas. So yeah, like listen, that's also pre-salary cap era, right? So it's difficult. It's a little more difficult because you had the super teams, right? With San Fran and Dallas, or the Steelers in the 70s with all their Hall of Famers. So look, like if those Steelers also, like Mel Blount would German suplex Juju Smith-Schuster, like it was just different. But yeah, so you kind of weight it based on the rules that you play with right now. And I think you have to say, if the Chiefs win, like this is the best team ever. Like they're the best team ever.
Yep, the best run. Check out Nick, weekdays 3 to 7. So Odyssey app, wherever you find your podcast, you're on a bunch of radio stations nationwide as well.
Yeah, YouTube and Twitch and Peacock, NBC Sports Now on Peacock.
NBC Sports Now on Peacock, and on social media at the Kostos, and that's Kostos with a K.
Yep, TheKostos. Because out of all the Kostoses out there, and there are many, I am the best one. I was
the number one seed as far as Kostos out there.
That's right.
Good talking to you, brother. I appreciate it.
You got it, man. Wishing you and the listeners and viewers minimal sweats, winning bets. The absolute very best of luck.
All right, Nick. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Nick Kostos. That's the Locker Room Report. Brought to you by Valley Forge in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. If I was starting a PHLY in New York, I would hire Nick. I wish I could have him on all the time. This might be the last time he comes on. He may get in trouble for doing it because he works for my old company and they may not like it. So anyway. All right, listen, we're back tomorrow. We're already in a Wednesday. Tyler, the week's almost halfway over. We almost made it to Super Bowl week.
Yeah, we only have another
8 shows.
12 days until the game starts.
8 shows. 8 shows. It's going to go fast. Shout out to everybody that watches live on YouTube. every morning at 8 o'clock. Thank you. Appreciate you. You can always listen to the audio podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Philly with John Marks. Give us a nice 5-star review. And on YouTube, like and subscribe. Comment on the show. Subscribe. All right? Do it. All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow. See you.
We all silly like the mayor.